Hi everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to SpeakUpLiberty.com. Before I get into the topic today, I just want to let you know that I identify as a Republican atheist. I recently came across an interesting article about one of the first noted slave owners in American history. This was actually taking place during the 13 colony era of American history when the 13 colonies were owned by England. One of the first noted slave owners in American history was actually a free black man. This is interesting to hear because I know that for the past 2 years, it seems, black history and black culture have been a major discussion, a lot of discussion about white privilege and white culture. To get into this story a little bit further, I'll explain to you more about this. And if you know more about this, you're welcome to comment and share your knowledge as well. One of the first noted slave owners in U.S. history was named Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson actually originated in Angola, which is located in the southwestern region of Africa. He did not have the name Anthony Johnson at that time, of course. He actually obtained the name Anthony Johnson when he became a free black man in the 13 colonies. However, when he was in Angola, he was captured by an enemy tribe and he was sold to Arab slave traders and eventually sold to a merchant as an indentured servant to the Virginia Company, which is located in Virginia, one of the original 13 colonies. I take note of this particular piece of information that an enemy tribe captured Anthony Johnson. So we can see here that in Africa there was tribal conflict which involved capturing the enemy and selling them as a slave. Also, there were Arab slave traders, so there was slavery happening in the Arab world. I bring this up because I talk with many young people today, and it seems that they think that slavery was strictly an American thing, it's strictly a white thing, when here we see that actually it was common in Africa, it was common in the Arab world, and it made its way to the 13 colonies. Anthony Johnson ended up in Virginia in 1621. He was an indentured servant. At this time, indentured servants were both black and white, and they normally served a time of 4 to 6 years. Once their time was over, they were freed, and actually they were given land and resources sometimes just to get their lives going in the colonies and to start producing. Johnson originally worked at a tobacco plantation, so this is where he got a lot of his background. Once he fulfilled his contract as an indentured servant and became a black man, from what I've read, he bought the contracts of 5 indentured servants. 4 were white, 1 was black, and with that he got 250 acres, and so he was able to start his own tobacco plantation, which was fairly successful, and he became a noted indentured servant owner and a noted producer. One of the issues that came up with Anthony Johnson was in 1653. One of his black indentured servants, named John Casser, actually claimed that he had been working longer than what his contract had noted. And Johnson's neighbor, whose name was Parker, actually took note of this as well. He noted that John Casser was working longer than what he was supposed to as an indentured servant. So Parker, the neighbor of Anthony Johnson, stepped in and started communicating with this indentured servant and said, "Hey, I have some work for you. You can come work for me. You're technically a free man now." Because he fulfilled his contract. But the thing is Anthony Johnson, who again is a free black man, he did not want to let his indentured servant go despite the contract being fulfilled. So Parker, the neighbor, decided to challenge Johnson and took him to court in order to note that the indentured servant was actually a free man who could do what he wanted. The court originally sided with Parker and said, yeah, Anthony Johnson doesn't have ownership over this man anymore. He can do what he wants and he can work for you if he wants. But Anthony Johnson wasn't happy with this, believe it or not. He was not happy to see his black indentured servant become a free person to go work for someone else. He actually appealed the court's decision, and in 1655, the court decided to reverse the decision and actually ruled in favor of Anthony Johnson. And so John Casser, the indentured servant, was once again under Anthony Johnson's ownership. In this situation, John Castlereagh became the first person of African descent in England's 13 colonies to be declared as a slave for life as the result of a civil suit. This particular situation was also noted because John Castlereagh was decided to be an indentured servant for life, but the thing is that he did not commit a crime. There had been indentured servants before John Castlereagh who had also been ruled to serve for life. That happened to both white and black indentured servants. But this particular case with Anthony Johnson was unique because John Castlereagh had never committed a crime. He never tried to escape. He never did any damage to his property. Yet he was still decided to be under the ownership of Anthony Johnson despite all of the contract that was involved. So again, I take note of this situation because it involves a free black man who wanted to maintain control of a black indentured servant. This is a part of the 13 colony history, United States history. Again, if you know anything about this, any insight, feel free to share what you know. I appreciate learning from everybody. Take care.